Now, 15 former judges, 77 former bureaucrats and 25 retired officers of the armed forces have criticized the Supreme Court's recent comments against Nupur Sharma. That's a story that we will talk about in just a bit. Meanwhile, what we are hearing at the moment is once again a Twitter versus government situation. Twitter has taken on the center to the court rather over block orders. Now remember, there are certain accounts that have in fact been blocked in India. There are people who have also taken up this issue personally whose handles have been blocked. Let me go across to Vishnu for more details on this. Vishnu, what exactly is Twitter saying?
Well, Twitter at this stage is not saying very much, but we can confirm that Twitter has gone to the Karnataka High Court. They have decided to take their battle against the government of India to the Karnataka High Court. And we've learned of a couple of details which Twitter is likely to have used in their writ petition. Firstly, they object to a couple of orders which have been, several orders in fact, which have been given by the government of India, telling Twitter, look, you have to block certain handles. And the basic concerns that Twitter has is that the orders themselves by the government of India seem extremely arbitrary. So there is the nature of blocking orders themselves are deeply problematic. Why? Because many blocking orders could be procedurally and substantially deficient. For example, not giving a notice to users. The government says, allegedly, look, you need to stop this right now. Twitter believes there's a notice period which needs to be given. As the nature of the content could be merely a political speech, criticism and newsworthy content, these blocking orders do not pass the test of grounds provided under Section 69A. What is Section 69A? Section 69A of the IT Act is a relatively new part of the IT Act which enables or which gives the government the right to tell social media intermediaries such as Twitter to block or bring down particular handles. Now, Twitter itself, as we understand it, in the court, hasn't given the court specific examples or the specific names, at this juncture at least, of the handles that they want to block or which the government wants to block and which they have problems with, because it's still very early. But I think the key point over here is that, yes, and I've got a couple of more details on this. As I understand it, Twitter objects to overbroad and arbitrary requests for blocking. Twitter, as I understand it, fails to provide notice to the originators of the content or Twitter handles which are being blocked under orders from the government. The order to block is disproportionate in several cases. A lot of this would pertain to political content. There are problems that Twitter has with this, that political content that is posted in the official handles of political parties, there have been orders to bring that down. Now, this is huge, because assuming that the writ has all of these details and at a later stage we would have this, then this seems to suggest that the government wants the content of political parties to be brought down, opposition political parties to be brought down. And the basic issue over here which Twitter is fighting on is that all of this constitutes a violation of the freedom of speech guaranteed to citizen users on the platform. So this again comes at a stage when just a couple of weeks back what had taken place is that the government gave Twitter an absolute, it gave them a deadline, and it told them clearly that there are serious consequences for non-compliance of the government's orders. There could be legal action against Twitter from the government itself, which is why Twitter now under pressure and with no other option has gone to the Karnataka High Court.
Two questions here. Is Twitter saying anything about whether they have in fact blocked some of these accounts that the government had asked them to? And secondly, as Twitter is raising objections to what it believes is an arbitrary move, is Twitter blocking these, or has the government asked them to block these accounts only for viewing in India?
So this is all very preliminary information. What I am reporting to you is what we have learned. There is no detail on what these accounts are at this juncture, but they have identified, for example, that this does include the accounts of certain political parties as well. And whether or not the blocking is just for India or it's a request for international blocking, that's something we don't know. Again, this is sources-based information, but what we can confirm is that a writ has been filed, and as we understand it, some of the main points of that writ are what I have been discussing with you. But the very specific questions which you asked, Maha, which are very key to this entire issue, no clear answers on that at this stage.